full story: a wife betrayed her husband with her supervisor, and this is what he did. I am a 32-year-old man and my wife is a 28-year-old woman. I had been with my wife for 7 years. In the beginning it was excellent. She felt like my other half and I felt like hers. We shared the same interests in sports, movies, social topics, vacation spots, and more. We were happy for years. With time something shifted as my wife began to grow distant and a bit colder. For 7 years we were together. For 5 of those years I described it as joyful. I felt like I was her universe and she was mine. We went out with friends and I would see her smiling at me while we talked in a group. She cared for me when I got sick, and I did the same for her. She backed me whenever it mattered. She was my anchor and my closest friend. My one person. We hiked together, camped, visited wildlife parks, watched football. We were passionate about each other. I never wished for her to be different. When I first met her she was gorgeous.
Braun Kohls, a radiant smile, and gentle manners.
She made me feel valued. Not once did I feel inferior or nervous about myself around her. For over 5 years it stayed great, but things changed when her new supervisor joined the office. I will call him Ravi, 30. At first she would come home and talk about Ravi. She said he was funny and made people comfortable. I was a little surprised because she normally asked about my day and then told me about hers. This time she talked about Ravi first. I brushed it off as excitement about a new face after years of seeing the same colleagues. A new hire can feel refreshing. Weeks passed and my wife grew more secretive and distant. She went out for work nights, which had never been a problem because she had gone to many before. We had planned to visit a mutual friend for drinks. He was going through a serious illness. My wife was usually the reliable one, empathetic and steady. Our friend, I will call him Noah, 32, needed support, so we had agreed to be there. The evening arrived and my wife ran late from a work night out. I called her several times and got no response. I texted and got nothing. After waiting too long, I headed to Noah's place myself. Noah and I talked about how he was coping. I felt for him. He is a good man to face something so harsh. Afterward I returned home furious. My wife still was not home. There were no missed calls or texts. I worried about an accident. I rang one of her co-workers, Erin, 28. I got along with Erin and asked if Lila, my wife, was out with her. Erin said yes, but Erin had already gone home, and that it was just Lila and Ravi left out. Rage hit me. We had known Noah for years and she skipped visiting our sick friend for a guy she barely knew. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. I waited for her to come back. Eventually she arrived and found me in the living room staring at her. She asked what was wrong and if everything was okay. I said one word. Noah. She looked stricken. She apologized and said she lost track of time while out with work friends. She looked sincere. She and Noah were good friends, so maybe it truly slipped her mind. I asked who went out. She listed Erin, another colleague Clara, 30 and a few others. I asked if Ravi had been there. She said yes. I pressed and asked if everyone stayed to the end. She said yes and that it was a good night. The next day I stayed quiet but angry. She had never lied to me and had never let people down. I could not grasp that she skipped a visit to our ill friend for a man she just met. Over the next days she grew more detached. She came home later and stopped being affectionate. I blamed workload, but when she got home, she kept staring at her phone. I asked who she was texting. She said a friend from work. I asked if it was Ravi. She said no, then added that it should not matter if it was. I had never seen her so defensive. I told her the truth. She would not stop talking about him. He had been there less than a month and she seemed to idolize him. Her face lit up when she mentioned him, so much that she forgot about Noah. She insisted she did not idolize Ravi, that he was nice but just a friend, and that she had already apologized to Noah. That did not settle anything. When she fell asleep, I checked her phone. It was full of explicit messages between them. I photographed the conversations. A week passed and it continued. Late nights and no affection. I talked to a friend who said maybe I was paranoid and should try something fresh like a surprise dinner. I decided to try. I texted my wife and asked if she was free after work. She replied that she was free. The messages looked promising, so I cooked dinner, bought a good bottle of wine, and brought flowers. She got home and looked sad. She said she was sorry but a coworker had a surprise birthday party planned and that night was the only time they could do it. I shook my head in frustration and anger. She left right after I drove away. That was the breaking point. After months of suspicion, I wanted proof. You might read this and ask how I failed to see the signs. I did see them, but I kept hoping I was wrong. I was afraid of the truth.
I needed hard evidence.
I am not proud of what I did. I put a tracker in her car. I pretended to work late so she would not see me when she got home. She arrived, then headed out again in the car. I followed at a distance as she drove beyond town. She pulled into a secluded corner of a parking lot. She waited until another car stopped beside her.
It was him, Ravi.
She got out and moved into his car. The purpose was obvious. I recorded her getting into his car as evidence. For the next few days she acted as if nothing had happened. She did not know that I knew, and she put on normal behavior. She smiled at me and even held my hand at breakfast.
She left for work.
I had the day off and snooped on the laptop.
Nothing.
Then I checked her drawers. I found an iPad under the bottom drawer. It was not mine, so I assumed she had bought it. It did not need a password or she forgot to lock it.
I got in.
This is where the worst damage hit. There were no messages there, but a folder contained explicit photos of my wife posing for him.
Many of them.
There were also videos. I know I should not have watched them, but I did. The videos were graphic. Ravi was sleeping with my wife and she was clearly involved.
There was more.
My wife was recorded with another woman and another man while Ravi was present. The other man had hateful tattoos from extremist groups.
A vile human.
It looked like Ravi aligned with him. I could not believe it. My wife with a man whose beliefs she used to despise. She had always condemned bigotry, just as I do. Why would she be involved with that? Seeing her willingly participate is what cut deepest. During our marriage we had talked about fantasies but never acted on them. I had typical thoughts like threesomes, but my wife said she would never do that or be with another woman. I accepted that without a second thought because I loved her. Watching her do things with him that she never did with me tore me up. I watched every video. That was foolish, but I copied all files to my laptop as proof of infidelity. I wanted her gone. I could not figure out why she did this. I could not understand why she refused me any of those ideas yet embraced them for him. What made him special? Why was she drawn to someone I thought she loathed because of what he stood for? I spoke to Noah about everything. He is a good man and a loyal friend. He was stunned that the woman I married had done this. He was disgusted and said he had noticed her change as well. I told him I planned to divorce.
He agreed.
He said I had enough evidence. He told me confronting them was pointless because she had already decided. He said I needed a fresh start and a partner who was real, not a mirage. Like me, Noah despises racists and shook his head that my wife had been with those people. He had known her longer than I had. After talking to Noah, I felt back in control. For months I felt she held the power. I was afraid to confirm the truth. I had not confronted her more firmly because I feared the result. I did not know whether I wanted to leave or try to fix it. After the videos, pictures and texts, I knew exactly what to do. I met with a lawyer and filed for divorce.
I had enough.
She still acted normal. She was on her phone constantly and out late. I assumed with him.
I did not care.
I had to wait 3 weeks for the papers. When I got them, I chose to move out. We were renting and the lease ended in 3 months. I was prepared to keep paying until then. On moving day she went to work. I said I had to go in late to cover staffing.
She shrugged and said okay.
No goodbye, no hug, no kiss.
That had been our normal for months. I packed essentials and left the divorce papers on the kitchen table with my wedding ring.
That was the end.
I stayed with my university friend Ben in another city, Northcrest. I was grateful and even more grateful to be far from her, the city and our shared circle. I wanted no part of it.
I told my parents.
They were shocked but understood. I did not share every explicit detail.
There was no need. I felt free.
I assumed my wife would feel the same since Ravi seemed to be what she wanted.
I hoped for a quick divorce.
That night my phone exploded with calls and messages.
It was my wife. I was surprised.
I honestly thought this was what she wanted too.
I did not speak to her.
I had no interest. Her messages kept arriving with apologies and pleas to talk. This went on for hours. I blocked her number and deleted my social media. I told my lawyer my wife had not signed yet. She emailed me. I kept email open for legal reasons. She apologized again and said we needed to talk. I replied that I wanted only the divorce. She said she did not want a divorce. She said I was the only man she loved and that Ravi meant nothing. I had not told her why I left, but she obviously knew. Seeing her guilt and hearing her beg was strangely satisfying. Ben told me I could stay as long as I needed. He also said I would eventually have to meet her. He said I left without answers and no matter how hard I tried, I would want to hear them. Inside I disagreed.
Why should I talk to her?
She had ignored my feelings for months. She cared deeply for our sick friend yet did not care for me.
Why meet?
I knew I was stubborn and angry that she was trying to reconcile. I truly thought she would sign and move on with him. That confusion grew when she asked to meet. I had a therapist who is excellent. I talked through the affair, the photos, the videos. I said my wife wanted a meeting before signing. My therapist was blunt. She said that by leaving without telling my wife why, part of me wanted my wife to panic and beg. I kept insisting she would not care, but deep down I wanted her to care. I wanted her to feel pain the way she made me feel. Meeting would give up some control.
She was right.
She added that if I did meet, I had to ask hard questions even if I hated the answers, because I did have questions and I was not moving on. I was running away because I feared that 7 years might have been a lie. Blunt and accurate. That was 2 days ago. My wife insisted on meeting and hinted she would not sign until we did. I spoke to my parents and close friends. My dad said I could force a signature, but it might take months. If talking could get it done sooner, it might be worth it.
Ben agreed.
I chose to meet my wife. Saying I was nervous is an understatement. How should I handle it? What should I ask? Should I be open or guarded? I moved back to Brookfield where we had lived. Staying with Ben was helpful, but I needed to return eventually. My soon-to-be ex remained in our rental, so I took a small flat just outside town in Riverton Park. I told my wife I was back.
She sounded pleased.
I told her I would not live with her. She understood and tried the line about sleeping in separate rooms. I refused. I also said I would not tell her where I lived, although she tried to find out. She still wanted to meet, and so did I. We settled on a time and place. We chose a neutral spot near Harborview Beach. There would be people around, but not too many in case emotions flared.
I wanted to meet outdoors, just the two of us.
Some friends suggested bringing someone along, but I felt it was unnecessary. I did agree to record the conversation. Before the meeting, I emailed ground rules. If she broke them, reconciliation would be impossible. The rules were simple. First, answer every question honestly. Second, no vague replies like it just happened or I do not know. I wanted specific answers. Third, if she walked off without answering, it was over.
Fourth, do not be late.
If she was late, there would be no reconciliation. We set the place and time and waited.
The day before, I saw other friends.
They hugged me and offered support, and word of our split had circulated. I wondered how they knew since I told only a few. She had told her family and friends, and the dominoes fell. None knew the full details. They did not know about the messages, photos, or videos. Even my wife did not know I had copies. She thought I left because she spent too much time with Ravi. She did not know what I held. I told my therapist about the upcoming meeting. She advised specific questions to clarify what had happened. The day of the meeting arrived. My nerves were wrecked. Not because I wanted her back but because seeing her meant imagining him. I feared losing focus and control. I drove to Harborview Beach early. The sun was out and people were taking morning walks. It looked like a good place for this. I turned and saw my soon-to-be ex walking toward me. She was smiling. She looked great dressed up, yet worn and stressed around the eyes. I felt no sympathy. She tried to hug me. I held out an arm to stop her. She nodded that she understood. We sat and settled.
She tried small talk.
I started the recording and began. When did you first kiss him? She said the first Friday of his first week. When did you first sleep with him? The same day on Friday.
Where? At his place.
Did you ever do it in our bed? She asked if it mattered. I reminded her of the email rules.
She said yes.
She started to tear up.
When?
She said several times when I was out. Neighbors had seen him but assumed he was a colleague and thought nothing of it. She apologized again and again. I raised my hand for her to stop. I kept asking questions. Did you tell him you were married? She said yes, but claimed the early days were a blur. My therapist had asked me to ask one specific question. When you first met Ravi, how soon did he ask about me? She asked what I meant. I clarified. When you talked, What did he ask about our marriage? Did he ask how long we had been together or if we were happy? After a pause she said yes, he had asked about our marriage and whether we were happy. I asked if that seemed odd. Meeting a new coworker and he immediately asked personal questions about our marriage. She said she thought he was just being curious and did not see it as strange. I moved to another line of questioning. I referenced a racist attack at a local shop a few days earlier. She knew what I was implying. She realized I knew about the photos and videos with those men. She began to cry for several minutes. I asked why she would go near people like that. Red-faced and trying to compose herself, she said it was not what I thought. I asked what I was supposed to think. I asked what made her disregard her family history and our values, and neglect our friend, and treat me with contempt. She said he was the new boss in the department. He was open and funny and made people feel good. Many women liked him. When he focused on her, she felt chosen. I asked what that meant. She said he made it clear he was interested only in her. I noted that this was after only a few days. She nodded. He had a way of making someone feel special. When he watched her from across the office, she felt a rush. When he told her she was the only interesting person there, she felt singled out. She said she knew it sounded pathetic, but when he started giving attention she felt flattered. Other women were jealous. She liked the rush and wanted more. She admitted she was attracted to him. She thought she hid it but realized now she did not. She said at the beginning he showered her with praise. The more she saw him, the more she wanted. She said she felt like a queen. She knew I treated her well and that she was lucky, but she claimed that Ravi felt like another level at the time. She liked seeing other women envy her. She said her thinking shifted. At first she felt lucky to have his interest. As time passed, he became more demanding. He learned her preferences, then pushed her to go against them. The videos and photos were his idea. She knew who his friends were and what they believed. She did not challenge him because she feared upsetting him. He implied that if she could not make him happy, someone else would. He carried an attitude that she should recognize how lucky she was. She panicked and went to extremes to keep him satisfied. She said she did anything he asked. I told her I had seen it all and mentioned that I had brought up fantasy ideas before. She said she knew and that she had refused me then. She insisted that with him she was trapped in a cycle. The more time she spent with him, the more she wanted. She said he convinced her that I was holding her back and that I did not respect her. She cried and said it was not true but that she believed him then. She said this is why she skipped dinners and plans. He told her she deserved more than me and should be treated like royalty. The fancier the restaurants and events and gifts, the more she resented me. Every time he gave something he mentioned my supposed failures. She bought into it and turned cold toward me. She claimed she realized only when she saw the papers and ring on the table. She said she ended it with Ravi that same day. She said she was ashamed and could not imagine what I went through. She admitted she neglected me and made me feel worthless. She said she could not see it at the time but saw it after I left. She said she was ashamed that she chose that man over me. I told her that aside from the betrayal, the deeper issue was that she wanted the affair at the start. She said he felt like a drug. I said many people break free from addictions. She did not. The only reason she was there was because I had been her safety net and now it was gone. I said no spouse can claim love while making the other feel small. She insisted she had not done that. I said she had. For 11 months, she made me feel worthless. I spiraled with food, withdrew, and lost myself. She was going out nightly, going to the gym, buying new clothes, and becoming a different person. She came home and looked at me with disgust. She would not allow any intimacy. She offered nothing but contempt. She asked if it was abuse. I said yes, mental abuse. Maybe she had not intended it, but it landed that way. My closest companion taught me to hate myself. She broke down again. It got so bad that I had dark thoughts about my own life. People began to stare. I told her to breathe. She calmed and kept saying he had fed her the toxic stories about me. I had one last question. Did she love him? She said no and that she actually hated him as much as she hated what she had done. We talked for hours. She left saying everything she said was true and that she had been in love with the lifestyle. I sat on the seawall and wondered whether she had been groomed or conditioned. She changed completely after meeting him. My therapist had wanted me to ask that early question for a reason. She could not diagnose Ravi but suggested he showed sociopathic traits, which is why he asked about our marriage so soon. She said it was clear he had an agenda. He saw a stable marriage and treated it as a challenge. A single woman would not have interested him because there was no game. With my wife he could control more than one person. He reshaped her into the opposite of her values and used her to pull me into isolation. My therapist said that is why I hesitated to confront. I had lost my sense of reality. He drove the narrative while my wife went along. If I had confronted them in that parking lot, my wife would likely have taken his side. People like that lack empathy and enjoy causing damage. Is there truth in that? Maybe. Part of me cares and part of me does not. He was a boss, made decent money, looked younger than his age, stayed fit, and had confidence. That can sway people. Perhaps my wife did end it the day I left. A neighbor told me Ravi kept coming to our rental demanding to see her. He did this several times. She said the same when we met. He acted like an abusive partner. My therapist said people like him cannot accept rejection or loss of control. My wife had chosen me over him. He could not stand it. I contacted HR at her workplace about the affair. Others had reported it as well. The news had spread. He left shortly after my wife and I spoke. I did not care where he went. My wife resigned before she was pushed. People were angry about her behavior. Her parents were especially upset. She moved in with them and planned to relocate. She is seeing a psychologist, which she needs. I still talk with her family and some friends. They suggested I meet her again. I will not. She needs to focus on getting better. They said Ravi did a number on her. The divorce should be finalized in a few weeks. Some said she would not sign after our meeting, but I had to go. I needed to know why. Do I feel better? In some ways, yes. My wife was as honest as she could be. The pattern fits. She asked if there could be reconciliation someday. I admit I thought about it. Even if she had been manipulated, how could I trust her? If I took her back I would think of him and feel second best. She promised that was not the case and that I had always been her soulmate. Even so, life with her would never be the same. The lesson is simple. Cheating is wrong. It harms the betrayed most. Cheaters act selfishly and only confess when caught or when divorce papers sit on a kitchen table. I do not plan to marry again. The damage cut deep. I still feel inadequate. I am back at the gym, hiking, camping with friends. I am trying to stay active and move forward while wrestling with anger. I hate that she fell so easily and that he targeted her. Why her? Those questions are pointless now. The harm is done and still hurts. I kept my job and moved to the edge of town. I did not run far away. My work and friends are good for me and I do not want to lose them. If I fled completely it would feel like they won and I refuse to play the victim. My therapist says healing takes time. Be patient. That is it. There is not much left to tell, so this is likely my last entry. Thank you to everyone who commented before. I read it all and I am grateful. Closing thoughts from the comments. One person said I handled it with composure and that my therapist is great and I should keep working on myself. Another said manipulation may explain later behavior, but the first decision to cheat was a choice. On that Friday she had not been conditioned yet. Those patterns take time. She wanted it and chose him over me. Later humiliation and abuse might have been fueled by manipulation, but the opening move was her conscious choice. He told me to stick to my decision, finalize the divorce, and never see her again. He said the damage is too great to repair. He encouraged me to focus on healing and to be proud that I left with dignity. He said I deserve better than how I was treated. After everything that unfolded, I kept my boundaries clear. I stayed at my small place in Riverton Park and made it plain that there would be no shared living, not even separate rooms. I recorded the beach conversation, asked every question on my list, and refused to let vague phrases pass as answers. The timeline was set, the choices were owned, and the impact on me was put on the record. She admitted to the first kiss and the first time together on that first Friday. She admitted to bringing him into our home when I was away. She admitted to telling him she was married and still moving forward. She admitted that the praise and attention hooked her and that she chased the feeling of being chosen while I faded in her mind. I kept returning to the same point. Before any influence took root, she made an initial choice. Whatever came later, the first turn was deliberate. She did not break up and walk away. She cheated and stayed. That set the course for everything that followed. The rush, the secrecy, the contempt at home, the distance from friends, the lies to my face, the constant phone glow in the evenings, the gym clothes tossed onto chairs while I sat alone, the excuses layered over obvious patterns. It was not an accident. It was a path. The videos and photos confirmed what words tried to soften. He pushed boundaries and she crossed them. He framed demands as tests and she passed them. He tied gifts to criticism of me and she nodded along. He said I was holding her back and she repeated it to herself until she believed it. When the papers and ring landed on the table, the spell cracked. She said she ended it that day.
Maybe she did.
Maybe the challenge lost its shine when control slipped. My neighbor's account of him showing up and banging on the door after I left fit what my therapist described. Loss of control can flip a charming mask into a frantic scramble. Human resources heard from me and from others. He disappeared from the office soon after. She resigned before she was forced out. Her parents are angry. She moved in with them and is planning to start over in a new town. She is in therapy. I still speak with her family and a few mutual friends, but I will not meet her again. My message stays the same. Work on yourself. Sign the documents.
Let us both move on.
The divorce is scheduled to finalize within weeks. I will sign and file and keep my focus on rebuilding my routines.
I go to the gym. I hike with friends.
I throw a tent in the car and drive out to the trails we used to love, reclaiming them for myself. I say yes to invitations even when I want to stay home. I put my phone on do not disturb at night and sleep. On bad days the thoughts still loop. On better days I notice that food tastes right again and the fog in my head lifts a little. My therapist keeps me grounded. Time and small habits do more than grand gestures. I decline reconciliation. Even if a manipulator primed her, trust is gone. I will not live second to a ghost I did not invite. I will not measure myself against a performance designed to destabilize me. I will not hand my future to the same person who taught me to doubt my worth. I do not plan to marry again. Maybe that changes one day.
Maybe it does not.
For now I will heal first and decide later. Friends have opinions. Some say I handled it with calm and dignity and that my therapist is a keeper. Others remind me that the first decision to betray was hers alone. Conditioning can explain escalation, not initiation. I can acknowledge both truths at once. It helps to see the pattern without rewriting responsibility. It helps to refuse self-blame while refusing to pretend that any of this was a misunderstanding. It helps to draw a line and leave it there.
The lesson I take is simple.
Infidelity is selfish. It does not simply break rules.
It breaks people.
It pushes the betrayed into silence and isolation and convinces them that the pain is their fault. It thrives on secrecy. It ends when the lights come on. My lights are on now. I am not running to a new city. I am not deleting my life. I am keeping my work, my friends, and the places I enjoy. If I leave everything behind, I hand the story to them. I would rather keep the story and write new chapters myself. To anyone standing where I stood, there is no script that makes this easy. Collect your evidence.
Protect your peace.
Speak to a professional who tells you the truth without flattery. Set conditions for any conversation and keep to them. Do not trade closure for new wounds. Remember that dignity is not loud.
It is steady.
It is papers on a table and keys turned quietly in a lock. It is saying no and meaning it. Thank you to everyone who offered guidance. I read every message. I took the kind words and the hard truths together. I will spend my energy on healing, not on winning a contest that never should have existed. I will be patient with time and strict with boundaries. I will choose people who choose me without conditions.